Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 5 of My Senpai is Annoying. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so it seems like Igarashi's just spending time with Natsumi. Notably, Valentine's Day is coming up. And there's something interesting in that Valentine's Day is normally something I would think of as a romantic holiday, but I'm not sure how it relates to Christmas in Japan, whether it's more or less romantic. But more important than any of that, it seems like Igarashi and Natsumi are taking the initiative to help some poor lost kid. Man, that is some kind of a culture shock, I guess, relying on the maps on your phone rather than having some other way to navigate, that's... I think, I'm old enough where knowing how to navigate without your phone is something that comes naturally to me, but... man, that is disconcerting in its own way, And I'm sure there are people like that. Now, it's interesting that the only thing Igarashi takes away from this is that the kid referred to them both as ladies, implying he viewed Igarashi as an adult. I mean, I think it would be more weird if he said, thank you, lady and child, That would be, more bizarre. It is kind of strange that she's so happy about all of this, but, it's interesting that Takeda would just sort of negate all of that. So if I had to guess, I feel like this episode is going to play up the potential romance between Igarashi and Takeda, as well as the romance between Sakurai and Kazuma. And, I think this little scene here, sort of focusing on him, would foreshadow this. Especially seeing as how, they're talking about the Valentine's Day tradition of giving people chocolate. And I don't understand the full intricacies of the practice, but it seems some people give chocolate out of courtesy and some do it out of affection, and you just kind of know which one you're receiving, but it's always nice to receive chocolate out of affection. I guess the issue is, who's going to be receiving any and what kind will it be? I mean, this poor guy right here, like, he clearly has no chance, but even so, he's trying. I don't think he realizes that Sakurai and Kazuma have a bit of a thing for each other going on. Granted, I don't think they were especially public about it. And it's not like we really saw too much of it either. There's been a whole lot of talk about them getting dinner, but things have gone just shy of actually showing that, Alright, so the plot's thickening a little bit. Takeda left to do some sales stuff, and he didn't bring Igarashi with him. And, there's the obvious sort of issue where she wished she would have gone along with him. But I'm wondering if this is... I don't know, maybe... I'm thinking maybe he's trusting her to stay behind and continue working on other stuff. Or maybe I'm looking too far into this. Maybe it's just a coincidence. And, it's just like a little thing to show that she would have jumped at the opportunity to go with him. Of course, based on that little line of dialogue, it seems as though Takeda has an ulterior motive. And indeed, he's asking her out to dinner. I mean, it might not actually be a date or anything like that, but it's something. Oh dear. Man, this kid really can't catch a break. First he's getting lost, now he's getting robbed. I mean, he is really lucky that Takeda was around to beat up those guys. Now, I'd imagine that if this kid has shown up a couple times, there's gotta be something important to it. I mean, if Takeda's dispensing wisdom, I'd imagine he's going to take that to heart. But this has got to be like somebody's kid or little brother or something. I feel like he wouldn't be showing up and being rescued by various main characters if that weren't the case. Alright, so here we go, I guess now Igarashi will become embarrassed at having, helped this kid. At least when Takeda acknowledges it. Okay, so his name's Sakurai, which I imagine only means, or only can mean rather, that he's related to their coworker. Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, if nothing else, this is a very pleasant surprise that two of Sakurai's co-workers managed to help her little brother in pretty short order. I'm wondering where they're going with this, because it seems like this has all sort of resolved itself pretty quickly. Now, I don't want to say Sakura's acting suspicious, but it seems like, she could have just said, no, we have plans, and left it at that, but I feel like maybe there's something else going on she doesn't want to share. And I'm wondering what that might be. Like, is she going to be spending time with Kazuma, and for some reason she doesn't want that to be public? And again, there's this whole thing about chocolate and Valentine's Day, That there's a lot of implications here that some people may or may not have secret admirers. And I guess, for Sakurai and Kazama, that's true, and for Takeda and Igarashi, that's true as well. Oh dear, this is a flashback. I'm wondering if this is going to be a more melancholy episode. Sakurai seems to be reflecting on Valentine's Day's past. So I guess, interestingly enough, it seems as though she never really participated in Valentine's Day in this manner. And some people sort of treat that as her being lucky. She's so popular she doesn't essentially have to bribe the boys with chocolate. But I don't know. I think that's that's cope on the part of the ugly girls for sure, but I don't know. I can imagine that would be a tricky position to be in, if you're popular and beloved by everybody. Showing any kind of favoritism or preference is going to upset the apple cart, as it were. So it seems as though Takeda has taken Igarashi to a ramen shop he frequents. So much so that the guy knows him by name. I mean, that's nice in a way, going to a sort of usual restaurant. Now, this guy might be acting a bit above his station here. He's got some interesting ideas. Hey, how about you get this Valentine's Day special? And for one thing, it sounds kind of gross. I don't think chocolate and ramen should mix, but on the other hand, there's the implication that these two might be a couple. And, they're not denying it, but I don't think they're really picking up on it either. Okay, here's where the plot's thickening. Kazama doesn't know what's going on. Oh, that's bad. He got fooled hard. I can only imagine, the poor guy, he's gonna be having a rough couple days. Man, I feel like, I hate to bring it up again, but, sometimes you just have to be forthright. That would clear up this whole thing, but from his perspective, that's a real kick in the teeth. The girl you've been after and have presumably dated once or twice, she's with another, tall, presumably good-looking guy. That's gotta be a definitely unwelcome surprise. So, meanwhile, Igarashi's got problems of her own, because she's going to make chocolate for the group, presumably, and Takeda. Or maybe just Takeda. He doesn't tend to eat sweets by his own admission, but, she's gotta do something. And I feel like Takeda's the kind of guy who would understand that, if you made something by hand, effort went into it, and, even if you don't like sweets, it's, there's something in that. So perhaps to cover her tracks, Igarashi is indeed giving chocolate to a bunch of people. I guess it makes sense, But, unfortunately, Kazuma's still not quite himself, the poor guy. I feel like somebody's just gonna have to, slap him post-haste or something. Because at this point, he's a menace. He's just printing and printing and printing. Like, it looked like he went through a whole ream of paper. Oh boy, so this guy can't help himself, he has to ask for confirmation, giving this chocolate out of affection, right? And, not even sort of. It's being given out of courtesy. Unfortunately, he didn't even get it. Now, I guess it makes sense that this character would be behind it. There is something off about her, pretending to drink on the job, just sort of sneaking up behind people, force-feeding him whatever that is. She does seem to have a thing for vodka. Man, I feel bad for that guy. Like, he's kind of annoying, but he probably didn't deserve that. Man, Cosma is really approaching, like, menace to society territory just by being so out of it. Alright, so fortunately for Igarashi, the chocolate Takeda had received was from a client and not from a romantic rival. But, oh no, she's not making that assumption at all. It could be something heartfelt, which is, for her, not good. And, naturally she's sort of worried that this really expensive gourmet chocolate will make hers look like crap. But I don't know. I feel like if you're a sort of person who would rather have something expensive and gourmet over something homemade, at least in this capacity, then like you're just not worth it. So, here's the moment of truth. Igarashi's obviously embarrassed about this whole business, and to some degree I can't blame her, but I feel like she doesn't have to worry that much, ultimately. In what universe is Takeda going to not like her chocolate and then just sort of denigrate her to her face? Like, at the very least, I feel like he would appreciate the effort that went into it. I mean, as it turns out, he does enjoy it. And, like, he said he doesn't eat a lot of sweets, but that doesn't mean he doesn't like them, Like, we know this guy is a judo practitioner and he's pretty jacked, so I think it's safe to assume he maintains a strict diet. Or something approximating that, So the lack of sweets in his diet is probably purely nutritional rather than up to taste. Here we go, Cosmo. You're not telling the truth, dude. So I can only imagine that Sakurai is going to turn things around by giving him something heartfelt. She's holding her hands behind her back. I feel like she's kind of hiding something. But of course, this is going to raise the question of who is that man I saw you with, and I get the feeling he's going to feel pretty darn stupid when he learns the truth. Ooh, okay, yeah, see, this is what not being forthright gets you. She was being all coy about whether or not it was heartfelt. And so he says, yeah, no, I know it's courtesy. It's a store-bought chocolate bar, it doesn't mean anything. And to some degree, he's sort of missing the point. Chocolate is chocolate on this day. Yeah, wow. This kind of exploded. Like, I guess I get it. If she's so upset about this, that means there was some feeling that went into it. Alright, so we're finally getting to the root of the issue. Who is that other guy? And it turns out, oh, yeah, just her little brother. No competition or anything. Yeah, he sort of gave it all away right there. Not only was he really jealous and in a bad way about it, he was jealous for no real reason. Of course, that said, now that the misunderstanding's been cleared up, he's sort of back to his usual self. Alright, that's actually interesting. Not only is Kazuma back to his usual self, he's better than usual. He's actually, smiling and presumably in a good mood. And from what we've seen before, he generally seems to be pretty sort of stone-faced and impassive. Of course, the person who gave him the heartfelt chocolate, that's not common knowledge, and Sakurai seems, interestingly enough, a little bit embarrassed about the whole ordeal. Okay, well, I get the feeling that if this cake's been sitting around and nobody's eaten it, there's gotta be something marginally suspect about it. Takeda seems to think it's from the chief, but I've got my doubts. Well, I take that back. The chief is a man of many talents. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.